Today it's only supposed to be 56 degrees, so I thought I would make a soup in the crock pot. So I'm going to make a soup called Zuppa Toscana, which is an Italian soup, and the main ingredients are sausage, potatoes, and kale. You can use any kind of sausage in this. I use sweet Italian sausage. You can use Italian. You can also use meatballs if you want. I like the sweet Italian. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your cooked and drained sausage in your crock pot. Now I drain off majority of the grease. I diced up 3 large russet potatoes into fairly decent sized bite-sized pieces. That goes in the crock pot. 5 cloves of garlic. I like garlic, so I add a little bit extra. And 1 small diced onion. Now, the recipe calls for kale and for half and half or heavy cream. You don't put that in now. I'm going to cook this down for about 3, maybe 4 hours, depending on the tenderness of the potatoes. And then I'll come back and I will add the kale, which I put into bite-sized pieces, and then I'll add my heavy cream. Now, as far as your seasoning is concerned, I don't go by the actual recipe. I use ingredients that I like, spices that I like. And one of my favorite spices is something called Chesapeake Bay style. It's got some heat to it, so this soup is usually a little bit spicy because most people use Italian sausage or hot sausage. So I'm going to add my Chesapeake Bay. You can use any spices that you like. Just because a recipe calls for a certain spice doesn't mean you have to use it. If you don't like that spice, substitute it for something that you like. Generous amount of salt. Coarse ground pepper. And then I'm going to cover this with some, let's see if I can get that, chicken broth. And I'm going to cover this about, I'm going to say 1 inch to 1.5 inches above the potato line, or above the line of how much you have in your crock pot. I'm going to cover that, put it on high for, like I said, 3 to 4 hours, and when that is done, I'll come back and I'll add the heavy cream and the kale. I'll also taste it. If I need any more spice, I'll add it then. I'm also going to slice up some of this fresh baked Italian baguettes, and I will put that in the oven with a little olive oil, and then I'll rub garlic on it when it comes out for dipping. So I will be back in about 3 to 4 hours. So my Zuppa Toscana has been cooking for about 4 hours. My potatoes are nice and tender. So now I'm going to add my heavy whipping cream. I'm going to add, this says 1/2 pint. So I'm going to add 1/2 pint of heavy whipping cream. And if I want to add more, I can add some whole milk, but I think that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to add all of my kale into this. Now, this looks like a lot of kale, but it will actually cook down. Stir this. I'm going to turn my crock pot from high down to low, And I'm going to put the lid back on this and cook this for maybe up to an hour until the kale is completely wilted and cooked down within the soup. As you can see, as I'm stirring this and the kale is getting heat to it, it's wilting down on its own. So I'm just going to turn the heat down to low and cook that for an additional hour. And my Zuppa Toscana soup is done.